welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show. As always, alongside me, Dolphin Paul, I'm Scott Cray, and thanks to the It's a Sports Show fans for all those wonderful emails. You want to send an email to the show? It's a sports show at yahoo.com.
Yahoo!
And they're pouring in. Nothing good to be said for the second straight week now. Last week we started things off on a note of Theo Epstein leaving the Boston Red Sox. Now, the inevitable has happened. Finally, the Colts have figured it out. Well, I'm not so sure if they figured it out, but they just, they're not the same Colts. They're a better team, and we're talking more defensively. Although they didn't show it as much against the Patriots, but the Patriots definitely not the same team that they've faced in the past.
They're not your daddy's Colts.
Not anymore.
And what was up with that open? It's a fine edition. What happened to the fine edition?
That was good for 1 week.
A little mellow?
I gotta make sure I mix things up.
So?
I'm not as excited
I believe
this
you in
week
charge
as I
of
was
that, no?
last week.
I'm pretty excited because as we tape the show on a Tuesday, by the time our Rhode Island fans see it, I'll be somewhere in South Florida watching the Patriots in Miami. Not on Thursday, of course, but on Thursday I'll be in South Florida. And
right.
Who knows where I'll be and what I'll be doing.
Your usual trip?
You know,
We've done this 6 years straight now?
This will be my 7th.
Nice.
With the radio station, The Score, as we know, yes, it'll...
Big trip.
So as people are watching this program now, they probably know that we're at the bingo halls and stuff like that. You know, bingo, G52, B10 and stuff like that. That's what we do.
It's all good.
But the Pats had a big game last night, like you mentioned. Finally lost to the Colts.
It was an exciting first half. Second half, especially if you're a Patriots fan, not quite as exciting. But that first half, man, Monday Night Football, you know, Colts, Pats, it's good stuff. I missed part of it. I had to attend my first Freetown town meeting.
How'd that work out?
I was just an observer. I got to give it some time before I start raising my hand and
Objecting
screaming
and
stuff.
everything?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So
Well,
I missed part of it, but it was an exciting first half. I did see it on tape. Second half, again,
It's a decent first
not
half.
as exciting. They kind of went tit for tat at the beginning, really.
They did, but uncharacteristically, the Pats, who used to come out in the second half and just shut teams down. I mean, this is a flawed football team.
Yep.
And I'm not I'm saying this because, as you know, I'm a Dolphin fan because we certainly are flawed, but defensively, the Patriots are just a shell of their former selves. I mean, this team cannot stop anybody.
Absolutely.
The Colts could do whatever they wanted to at will. They came out in the second half. They were up 28-14. And just to show you that not only do we think that the Colts defense is pretty bad, Belichick kicked an onside kick, which I thought was a wrong move. I don't know how you feel.
Absolutely.
They're up 28-14. They had a little bit of momentum, and he went for the onside kick. That kind of shows that,
went
hey,
for an onside
I don't trust
kick.
my defense. And they went for it early in the game on 4th down and 3.
That was
and
the
that
other
worked
thing
out.
I
I
was
thought
gonna
that was a
mention.
good call.
There's a sure sign there that says, hey, this defense is not stopping the Colts, and we can't go tit for tat the rest of this game because we're going to lose it. And things started off in the second half with a 28-second 3-and-out, 3 quick passes, and that was the end of that. And one of those was a drop pass, which, by the way, happened several times. You had some drop passes, and the turning point of the game, as some predict, was the fumble, of course, by Corey. You know, once that fumble happened,
I will say
things
this:
kind
it's
of
a
went
turning
down.
point. It changed the complexion of the game, but the Patriots weren't stopping the Colts. I don't want to make it seem like these two teams were even. All of a sudden, there was a fumble, and all the momentum changed. Listen, the Colts are a much better team at this point. You know, defensively, they're not dominant, but they're much better than they were. You pointed out a 29-second start. I mean, look at the Patriots' possessions in the second half. 29 seconds, 2 minutes 50, 2:10, 3:43, 42, and 103.
Right.
So, I mean, even offensively, they're relying way too much on Tom Brady's arm.
Right, but if you take a look at that, I mean, they had that 29-second possession and things went bad, but I wouldn't consider that terrible because, yeah, the Colts scored a touchdown on the next drive, and then you look at the Pats, half as much time of possession on that drive, but they answered with a touchdown. So time of possession within the small scope of things, not as important because it was the same result. However, you look at the end, time of possession just over 36 minutes for the Colts to 23 for the Pats. So, you know, in the small scope, not as important because you had the same end result with a touchdown. But in the long realm of things, that second half was just
But the Patriots
kind of lopsided.
they can't get off the field. I said a while back when I told you that Rodney Harrison was a big, big loss.
Yep.
I know some people at the time maybe thought Belichick could keep doing his magic, replacing players. When I saw him go down, I said, it's a guy you hate, if you're not a Patriot fan, because he's always instigating, always getting the last shove in, always gets a couple personal fouls here and there.
Yeah.
It's a guy you don't like if you're on the opposing team.
He's a
But
rah-rah guy.
But he was the heart and soul of that defense as far as I'm concerned, at least in that secondary. You know, he was like the enforcer back there. They lost him.
And had a big part against the Colts in the postseason
Oh,
last year.
absolutely. And Dwayne Starks, they got this guy in the offseason. They want to run him out of town. They sat him down in the second half.
Right.
Asante Samuel.
Which was a bad move, in my opinion, by Belichick.
Their secondary is pretty bad right now. And, of course, no Richard Seymour to get a lot of push up front, which
Right.
it's tough to sack Peyton Manning anyway.
Yep.
That's pretty tough. Now, they do have a lot of injuries. Let's not forget that. But, listen, you're still going to play. I mean, while they were on their Super Bowl runs, a lot of other teams had injuries.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And the
eventually it
Patriots
catches
had-
up to you.
The Patriots had their fair share of injuries, even on these Super Bowl runs. They just got guys back in due time. And now let's not forget something. They're what, 4-4 now? Yeah.
They're
so,
4-4.
So they're at 500, and now they have finally finished what was absolutely the hardest first half schedule in the entire NFL. So now they're over that hump. Some people, optimists, might say, hey, 500 after these 8 tough games isn't all that bad.
They're going down to Florida, baby, where they've lost.
Yeah.
Listen.
This is where they begin.
Wow.
Their upside.
Well,
Although
listen,
I know they
have
haven't
some
played
facts.
well in Miami.
6 out of the last 7
Right.
they have lost, including last year when the Patriots won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So Miami's not exactly an easy place for them to play.
It was last December that they lost.
Last
in Miami,
December
right?
they lost it in Miami, and the Patriots had a pretty good team
Right.
last year. So, yeah, the schedule lightens up, and because of Gus Frerotte, I have some trepidation about this game. Because of Gus Frerotte, if Miami had a decent QB, I
You
wouldn't say.
thought you were in bad shape before, and you had a QB controversy between two.
I wouldn't say this
not
was an
so good.
automatic win for Miami because it's certainly far from that. But I think if Miami with their 2 running backs now, the 2-headed monster that have been performing pretty well.
Yeah.
Gus Frerotte, I think, he just played terrible. I mean, they got outplayed by Atlanta. Atlanta's a better football team than the Dolphins. Atlanta's one of the better teams in the league. But
Yeah.
Miami had a chance to tie with a few minutes to go. They shouldn't have passed. It was 3rd down and 2. They should have gave it to Ronnie Brown. Anyway, regardless, Gus Frerotte, he's missing receivers everywhere. I'm just saying that's not an easy place for New England to go and play, especially with this secondary. So they're going to have to find a way to throw the ball on Miami because Miami's secondary is a little weak also.
Well, the Patriots are a team that can certainly throw the ball. We all know that the team is
A little too much.
partially been put on Tom Brady's shoulders. Problem is, too many drop passes.
Drop passes, and Corey Dillon, as we look at our
He got
stat sheet,
shut down.
34 yards
Yeah.
against the Colts.
Shut
You're
down.
not going to beat anybody.
Well, let's face it, in the second half, it was a point where you couldn't afford to run the ball anymore,
Right.
especially after that first 29-second
But
drive.
Corey
went
Dillon's
down.
a little banged up, but he's not bringing it like he was last year. I mean, they're not punishing the other teams like they used to.
Because they don't have the same
you can't-
personnel.
I don't care how good Tom Brady is. You can't rely. Ask Dan Marino. You can't. You got to have balance. That's what
You
made
can't
the
do it all.
Patriots so good. They didn't have a lot of superstars.
Right.
But they had a good offense. They had a tremendous defense. Good special teams.
Yeah.
Good running game. Even when they had Antoine Smith, it was an okay running game.
Right.
Enough to get going. Now with Corey Dillon, 34 yards.
It's a shutdown.
Listen, a lot of teams, they catch on. These guys aren't, the Patriots aren't on a pedestal themselves. A lot of these coaches, things come around, they figure things out, and Patriots right now are vulnerable. I mean,
Well,
that's all
I
I'm
think-
saying. It's not doom and gloom.
Right.
I know here we're really trashing the Patriots after a loss, but, obviously they're in a weaker division.
Right.
And chances are they'll probably win the division.
And they're going to be above 500
But-
when all's said and done, and they finish this
Probably,
up.
but they'll have to go on the road to another Super Bowl, which at this point seems like a long way away.
Patriots probably wishing instead they played on a Sunday night ESPN game. If that stats mean anything, 11-20 going into last night, now 11-21, something you might not really put into such importance. But then again, you were just mentioning playing in Miami, not so good.
Off
over the
a short
past-
week.
Yeah.
Off a Monday night.
So this is the start of the second half of the schedule. It's supposed to be easier, although I may wait till after this Miami game. Maybe Miami is not super impressive, but the short week, the banged-up Patriots team, I'm not even going to go into
We talked
who.
about this last week. The Buffalo Bills put up some pretty good numbers. The Buffalo Bills don't have a very good offense.
Right,
There's only 3 or 4 teams in the whole NFL that have given up more yards than the Patriots.
right.
So,
and to Miami's credit, you know, we talked about them playing Atlanta. Their defense, in my opinion, does not cater well towards a Michael Vick type Atlanta.
no, they struggle. Michael Vick played probably, as we talked about, he probably played his best game as a pro. He was pinpoint accurate.
On the money.
But
Miami's D helped that, too.
They did, but it's third down. They stop him on first and second. Third down, it's just so tough. Those guys, they go into the backfield. He is so quick and so agile. It's tough to get him. And, you know, you can only cover wide receivers for so long. So Michael Vick did a real good job against Miami. And, hey, listen, if Miami wins this game, they're in first place at 4-5.
I know.
You know, depending on what the Buffalo Bills do.
It goes back to what I said last week, where I find it pathetic when a team 500 or below is in first place in the division and could be the division winner. What is that other than a waste of time? In the meantime, you got somebody else somewhere else in the division, 2-3 games above 500, don't even make it to the playoffs.
Well,
because you got someone like the Colts at 8-0.
But that happens everywhere, so the divisions just switch around, so you really don't know. I was just looking at this points against in New England, 220. Everybody else in the division. Buffalo, 159, Miami, 151, even the Jets, 170. So
that says something about the D. What's the points for in that, for the Patriots?
The Patriots have 180, Buffalo 128, Miami 146, Jets 118. The Jets 2-6.
So the Patriots are minus 40?
Yes.
Is what I'm gathering there?
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
That minus 40 in 8 games?
Now, one thing I want to get to, you know, this really kind of bugs me.
All the pictures in the Providence Journal?
Well, I don't know how good the folks out in the thing, you can see this. I'm sure they have
can see that.
You know, I don't know how you feel, but Tom Brady at the end of the game is going to stand up and act like a man. I'm sorry. I'm throwing him under your fruit tree.
What are you talking about?
Well,
this could be, that was taken at some point, probably halfway through the fourth
I saw
quarter.
the game. At the end of the game, he's on the sideline. His head is back like this. He's whiny, crying little baby because he's won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls and he loses a game at home. Did you see his press conference?
What do you mean? Yeah, he made a quick statement.
I'm going to make this short and sweet. Oh, you're leaving. No, but it's great, but when you can beat the other teams and wear that stupid old man hat he wears and spend half hour there, oh, yeah, we're good because Bill does this, Bill does that. Come on.
All right, first off, this picture in the Providence Journal was taken, according to the caption, during...
Excuse me.
While Flutie was at the helm in the fourth quarter.
That's what I'm saying.
The guy has nothing to do but reflect. How do you want him to... You want him to smile? If they put a big picture...
worked up.
I know. If they put a big picture on here of him smiling during the loss, you'd be all over that.
Listen, I saw the end of the game. He was pouting, whiny, giving it the eyes.
So the Monday night
leaning
ABC
his head back. No, what I'm saying is when you're successful and everything's rosy, that's fine. But learn to lose like a man. They've won a ton of football games.
What do you want him to do? Smile? This
He
team's
was
in
7-0
shambles
against
right now.
the Colts, and now he's pouting. He's yelling at receivers. Give me a break.
What do you? If a receiver drops a ball, what are you
Dan Marino,
to do?
he was such a punk. Used to yell at everybody. Now Brady he yells at people. It's a whole different story.
Oh, no, wait a minute. What are the two things in common between these quarterbacks? They're both pretty damn good for the most part. So what does that say?
And
you should be yelling at a receiver when they're constantly dropping
balls.
All
I'm saying is you've had tremendous success.
Yeah.
Now you're experiencing a little adversity.
Yeah.
Don't sit there on the sideline and walk back and forth and pout and shake your head and yell at guys. Go to the sideline, sit there and accept defeat like a professional football player.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
How do you do that? You go to the sideline and you just watch the game. Or you sit down and you put your hands together. Maybe you bow your head to thinking about your game.
So,
I saw the end of the game. I'm not saying it's just that picture. He's walking back and forth. He's pouting. He's throwing things. Give me a break.
All right. We have another picture. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it on TV, okay? This one right here at the top, all right? Now we got a whole team pouting with their head down. So now what are you saying? The whole team is wrong? That they should be all smiling and patting each other on the butt?
Tom Brady is the leader of the football team, and look at him. That doesn't exude leadership to when you're sitting there and pouting like a little baby because you got smacked by the Colts. It was okay when last year the Colts were being held all over the place.
I don't understand I don't understand what you want them to do. When they're in a losing situation, they should hold it.
It's not them. It's Tom Brady.
Okay.
That's cool.
I don't understand what Tom Brady's supposed to do when he's getting smoked by a team that they normally kill, and the reality is that they're just not the same team and they're getting beat by the Colts, and he's probably got it in his head that they got to face them in the playoffs and they got to fix things quick. You want him like walking around, I don't know how you want him walking around.
I'll tell you what he's thinking right here is, how am I going to beat those Dolphins? That's what he's thinking right here. How am I going to beat those Dolphins?
I don't even think he's thinking about. Don't
And
even
on top
give the
of that,
Dolphins
on
enough
top of
credit
that,
for
on
that.
top of that, Your Honor, here's the proof.
Your Honor.
He has his 2-minute press conference.
Yeah.
No.
What do you want him to say?
No. When you sit up there with your little bonnet hat or whatever he wears, his Kango hat.
This is the first
when
time.
they win, and he sits up there and answers all the questions, and don't compare me to Joe Montana, because I'm the greatest. I'm the golden boy. Yeah, I love Bill. Bill loves me.
4 losses, Tom Brady
And
has
now
experienced
all of a
this
sudden
year.
he
This is the first time he's done it.
He has a game at
It's
home
the
and he gets his
first
butt
time
kicked by
he's
the
done
coach.
it.
Oh, this is all I'm going to say.
He has nothing to say. What do you
Come
want him
on.
to say?
All I'm saying is,
What do you want him to say?
lose like a man.
What
Lose
do you
like a
want him-
professional
How do you
football
do that?
player.
What do you say to the press when you lose like a man?
Well, you go to the bench. Obviously, I don't expect him to high-five anybody. Maybe talk to a couple guys and say, hey, listen, as a leader, say, listen,
We suck?
We'll get it back. We'll get it back. He was walking back and forth, pouting. He knows that the cameras are on him. He's got his head leaned back like this over the bench. He's sloping. He looks like me on a golf course after I blow a 2-hole lead.
I'll give you credit for this if something more drastic happens.
I like Tom Brady.
Something more drastic has to happen than that, where he
I
comes
like
out with
Tom
some kind
Brady.
of crazy statement a few games
I
down
like
the
Tom
road.
Brady. I got to say that again, and not that he gives two you-know-what about what I care. I'm saying the guy's a tremendous football player.
Right.
By all accounts, he's a class act. I just find it disappointing.
You don't
sitting
like the way he loses.
Yesterday, I found him to be a big baby.
You don't like the
Little
way he
Tommy
wins
girl.
either. You don't like the way he wins either. He's good
No,
as crazy
I have no
hat.
problem.
He's smiling.
No.
What do you want? How do you want him to win?
I like his intensity. I like when he goes up to the players. He gives them high fives. I have no problem with him winning. All I'm saying is you're almost making my point.
Message to Tom Brady: when you lose, Paul loves it when you pat your teammates on the butt. That's what he's looking for here.
No, Paul just-
the obvious has come out.
Paul just
that this
doesn't
is what
like
you're looking for.
the
Good job, Corey.
for 5 minutes. Put your head
Okay.
back. You're on national TV.
So he's on national TV, right? So he shouldn't be pouting. You're just at home, so when the Patriots smoke Miami, you can pout because you're not on national TV. How about local TV? Are you going to pout on the show? Let's see how you treat things on this show next week after Miami
I'll treat
loses.
him fine because we won the last 6 out of 7,
With Gus
and we'll beat him
Farrat
again.
at the helm, and a first-time coach, and a ganja-smoking doobie in the backfield. And who's the other guy?
All I'm saying, if you're going to lose,
Lose like a man.
lose with pride. Okay? If you're going to win and stand in front of the camera,
He looks happy to me.
if you...
Anyway.
If you're going to lose, if you're going to win and face the media, we've seen this happen with some athletes.
Yes.
When they win, they want all the cameras on them in the microphone. All I'm saying
He's
is...
not like that, though.
Well, he should have stood
You're
up
making
there
him sound like
and
a
taken
Terrell
some
Owens.
questions.
You're making him
Take
sound like
some
a Terrell
questions.
Owens when he wins.
Take some questions.
What? He didn't want to get hammered.
Oh, well, hammered, yeah.
Let his
He wants
coach
to get
deal with
hammered
that
when
stuff.
actually he played a pretty good football game.
All right. I want to take a look at the standings
Let's
here.
take a look around the AFC, NFC. Let's
New
look
England,
at pro football.
we all know 4-4. That leaves both Miami, unfortunately, and Buffalo 1 game out. It leaves the lowly New York Jets at 2-6, only 2 games out with 8 games to go.
Jets aren't going anywhere.
I know. Well, what do you think? I mean, without being
Well,
too
I think,
lopsided towards
I
Miami,
think
Miami and Buffalo are only a
and
game out.
Miami are probably sitting there now and going, hey, why not us?
Especially Miami, they pull off a win. They're tied.
Why
with
not
the
us?
Patriots.
I'm sure. I mean, obviously, this isn't the same Patriot team, and people can say they're banged up and everything,
Right.
which they are. But I mean, it is what it is. Like Parcells used to say, you are what you are. So,
True.
that division, as far as I'm concerned, no. Don't get me wrong. I give the Patriots the edge to win this division.
Yeah.
I'd have no grand illusions. But I think Miami or Buffalo can stretch this thing to the end. I think both teams are going to be somewhat competitive.
Well, how about this? Let's say, for a moment, okay, I don't want to curse Patriot fans, but let's say Miami does pull off a win, because there are certainly a possibility. No one's saying it's not going to happen.
Right.
Miami pulls off a win. Now, Buffalo at 3-5 is playing Kansas City at 5-3.
Is that at Kansas City or at home?
It's at Kansas City, I believe. Let me double check here.
It's at Buffalo.
At Buffalo, thank you. So you know these things without
Well,
me
I
even
just
looking down.
looked on my sheet.
All right, so they're playing in Buffalo. Now, Kansas City you might look at as a decent enough team to be able to smoke Buffalo. However, Buffalo's got the extra week because they just had a bye week. So if Buffalo could pull off a win and Miami beats the Patriots, we got ourselves a three-way tie.
A three-way tie.
Which is unheard of over the past
at 4-5.
4 years.
And here's
at
the weird
4 and
thing.
5.
And here's the weird thing. If that happens, Buffalo would have beaten Miami. Miami
Right.
would have beaten New England. New England would have beaten Buffalo.
So you still, no matter what, you got a three-way tie.
We call that in the chocolate world a cluster. I won't say it.
Right,
Okay.
right. Okay, in the South, Indy 8-0. Let me ask you this: undefeated, 8-0.
No.
You're a Miami fan. Are you starting to think about that perfect season?
Pop the champagne once they lose, baby. Nobody touches our undefeated
That
record.
champagne's on ice right now. Who does Indy
Probably the
lose to?
Probably the class of the AFC right now.
Indy. Okay, real quick. Houston.
Win.
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
That's my boys. Cincinnati's going to
You
take
got a lot
them
of
down.
boys. Cincinnati,
Look,
San
look.
Fran, New England.
It is
I don't know who you like.
Tuesday, okay? Tuesday, November 8th at 4:54 p.m. is when we're shooting this show. I am telling you that Cincinnati becomes the team that kills the Indianapolis and keeps Miami.
We have that on record.
You got it. All right, so anyway, Indy, Pittsburgh.
Steelers.
No, Indy playing Pittsburgh the following week.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Steelers. You're going with the Steelers?
No,
in
no, they're playing
Oh.
Cincy and Pittsburgh.
Right.
We're trying to come up with the teams that can beat them.
Well,
Certainly, those are two.
So what happened? So Pittsburgh, you think is a possibility too?
Both of those teams are a possibility.
Okay. Tennessee,
No.
Jacksonville.
They play the Colts well.
Not in December. Not happening. San Diego.
Absolute possibility. And I'll tell you what,
Okay.
the deeper you're going into that schedule,
Yeah.
let's not forget that the Colts will probably have a lot wrapped up by those last few games.
Good point.
So-
Now that's interesting. Let's say, and it won't happen because Cincinnati will beat them. But let's say you go in at 14-0. You already won it. What do you do?
If you've got
do
2
they still
games
keep
left,
going
they
for it?
might try. They might try to win. I don't know if I would do it because
What's
I mean,
more
obviously,
important?
yeah,
You got a Super Bowl caliber
you
team.
want the Super Bowl. I mean, if you're 14-0 and you've got the whole. Actually, 14-0 will tie Miami's regular season record.
Right.
You're 14-0. You're probably gonna have everything wrapped up, home field and everything.
Even with the Cincinnati win over Indy?
Wow.
Okay, real quick. In the North, Cincy, 7-2, a game up on Pittsburgh. Interesting division there. They're the only teams fighting for anything.
Two
but,
good football teams there, absolutely.
Denver at 6-2, KC 5-3, San Diego 5-4. A little bit of a tight race there, but another instance of
I think
mediocre
Denver's
team.
playing some good football. San
I agree.
Diego's a pretty good team. I mean, they just escaped with a win against the Jets, but they're a very solid football team. So I think Denver, I don't think Kansas City. Trent Green, there's something wrong with that offense. Dick Vermeil, I just
Trent
don't know.
Green's not.
The defense is not. They didn't make a drastic turnaround like the Colts did. So I favor Denver and San Diego in that division.
Right. Okay. In the East, in the National Conference,
NFC.
the Giants doing it once
G-Man.
again. 6-2, but we've seen this before. They start
Yeah,
off
but
hot.
the G-Men, a lot of G-Men fans in our local area.
But what puts them in a different situation now than in the past couple of years, where 6-2 is not unheard of from them, but they
tell you
just
what,
dive in the second half
Well, I'll
of the
tell
season.
you what, they have an offense now. Eli Manning's a good QB. They have Plaxico Burress. Tiki Baba's running well. It's just completely
They
different
played
offense.
excellent this past weekend.
I used to compare the Giants to watching your grass growing years back. I mean, that
Right.
offense was boring.
Yep.
I mean, with Jeff Hostetler.
They were all
and-
defense at that time.
Right. And Kerry Collins.
Yep.
I mean, 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Right on their tail, Washington and Dallas, both 5-3. Even Philly's at 500. That could be an even more exciting division than the East and the AFC
Hey,
because all 4 teams are in it.
Let me make a note just to John Turner. I don't know if he's watching the show, but to his credit, he called the T.O.
That's
right before the Super Bowl. He said he didn't like T.O. They should have never got him. You know what? He's been proven right.
We didn't even talk about that during the
T.O.
show.
who's suspended. I mean, the folks will know this by now. He'll never play in an Eagle uniform.
I don't
can tell
think
you that
so.
right now.
Well, how
So-
much of a sacrifice are the Eagles going to have to make to get rid of him? Because other teams know that they want to get rid of him. And
Well-
by the way, people don't know this. Suspended indefinitely, I don't think so. You can only be suspended for, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks for conduct detrimental
But
to the
they
team.
can do what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah.
They put him on some type of list where he couldn't come back, and I don't know if there's anything he can do. He's going to file a grievance now, but T.O., he challenged everybody in the locker room, got into a fight with Hugh Douglas and challenged everybody else. He said he'd be undefeated if Brett Favre... I know we probably don't have a lot of time. I don't spend
That's
a ton
a sack
of time.
there.
Why does a guy with so much talent feel the need to stand out like that and challenge his quarterback, who I think is a decent quarterback?
Right.
Donovan McNabb is a pretty good quarterback, is playing through injury. Why does he feel the need to do that?
And he's a stand-up guy because he could easily be doing the back and forth.
I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want it, Terrell Owens. If somebody said he can play on the Dolphins, I wouldn't want him. He's too much of a distraction.
I agree.
I would rather build
I think there's other
teams on.
that see him as a shot of gold.
And T.O. and his agent are going to cost himself tons of money.
You bet. You bet.
So, as much as we thought, that's the interesting thing about football. Philly,
Strange things can happen.
We had them heavily favored to win that division. Now, Dallas, the G-Men.
What did Philly do this weekend? I missed that game. Did they, without T.O., what did they do?
They lost.
They did.
They lost. Absolutely.
All right, in the South, real quick, Atlanta, Carolina tied at 6-2. TB at 5-3. Nothing. Carolina's still got a decent defense. Atlanta's playing well. I don't know. Tampa Bay at 5-3. Are they just doing this quietly without anyone realizing how good they really are? Or?
No, I think it's opposite. I think they started out at 4-0. I think they're going in the tank, to be honest with you. I mean, they lost their QB, just Phil Sims. Chris Sims, his son, is not doing anything. Carolina went in there, slapped him around.
Yep.
Tampa Bay went to San Fran the week before, lost.
Right.
So I think they're reeling right now. I don't think they're doing quietly at all. I think they're done. I like Carolina. I think Carolina is a solid.
Yeah.
Once again, not because my boy Steve Smith's on my
Of course not.
7-2 fantasy football team.
Of course not.
They're a solid football team. Now, there's a team last year who's similar to the Patriots this year, tons of injuries, including losing Steve Smith.
Right.
So people come back healthy this year.
Makes a difference.
Makes a big difference. Jake Delhomme doing a good job.
In the North, probably the worst division to even bother looking at. Chicago has the lead prominently at 5-3, and they're not even that good of a team. But the big surprise in the cellar, Green Bay 1-7.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about injuries.
Yeah.
They've been crushed by injuries. I mean,
don't good teams overcome injuries
that's
even
too
to that
many
extent?
injuries. I mean,
Too
Amon
much?
Green, Javon Walker, just a bunch of other guys.
Long-term injuries, too. These are guys that we're hoping even come back and play in the NFL.
I feel bad for Brett Favre. No, they got decimated. They were a good team with all those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just way too many injuries. People say teams overcome injuries. I know the Patriots did a great job last year and a couple years ago. That's too much.
Why is Brett Favre still playing right now, then?
Well, he's probably asking himself that same question.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Finally, in the West, Seattle 6-2, St. Louis 4-4, and then a bunch of crap, including San Francisco at 2-6. So Seattle, how good? They're probably going to be a division winner here. How good are they really?
Well, I think if they could get another guy that's on my fantasy football team.
Oh, he's on mine too, baby. I love him.
how about my trade early in the year not to get not to go to fantasy
It must have
football?
involved.
Well, I had Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And early, after 2-3 games, I said, you know what, this Colts offense is just not the same.
They're different.
I unloaded him for Sean Alexander, and it's helped me out. But
Tons more points.
They're the class of that division, and I think they're one of the, top 4 or 5 teams. You got Seattle, Carolina, Atlanta. Forget about Chicago.
Right.
As far as a conference.
Cincinnati.
No, well, that's in the other conference. And,
right.
And then you got the NFC East with the G-Men and the Cowboys, who I think are the two guys. And the Redskins will mix it up there.
So Seattle maybe a 1-game winner in the playoffs possibly, and then out at that point, who knows? How much time we got left, Farrah? I missed that last call. Oh, we're
30
ready to wrap
seconds.
up.
Wow, already?
Hey, next week we'll know a little more possibly about T.O. And
we'll know a little more
hear
about my
all
beloved
about
Dolphins.
Miami. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming. And we better stop reading some of them on the air. Are they going to stop emailing us at this point?
Let's read them next week.
DP. Sorry, DP. Have a good time down in Miami. Good luck. Good flight.
All right, my man.
And good luck
I'll
to New
enjoy
England
it.
Patriots.